I'm William Cook from Nashville, Tennessee, and my favorite tree is the ginkgo tree.
Go, Kara, go.
Okay. Can you tell me your major as well and what you're doing after college?
I am a business and history double major, and right after college I'm traveling a little bit. I'm going to China, Malaysia, and Honduras to study belonging in the church, how the church fosters belonging in different cultures. And then I do not know exactly what I'm doing once I get back in September. Or August.
So cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that like through your church or through Moorhead?
No, that's through Moorhead.
Okay, cool.
So get a delayed summer.
That's awesome.
So.
What the heck? We'll come back to that because
Okay.
that's really cool. I didn't know that. Let's start with friendships. How did you meet your best friends? What do those friendships look like? Like, what are the habits of friendship that you like are intentional with? Yeah, memories you want to share?
Yeah. Friendship. How did I meet my best friends? A lot of that was through Parker Mendenhall freshman year. He was our young life leader, and he just like consistently pursued all of us. And that was when the study center was over on West Cameron and kind of smaller, kind of out of the way. And like people went, but it wasn't as bustling as it is now. But he did a really good job of bringing people in, and bounced around to different ministries and did the whole, like it was great. I saw how different ministries do their small group, large group meetings, how all that works. But ended up feeling the best about some of my friendships in Young Life and wanted to focus on those. So that's what I kind of got plugged in with towards the end of first semester and into second semester. It took longer than I think I wished it would when I started. But yeah, I credit a lot of my close friends to him, and that's our small group is pretty much who moved into the D's, and then we all moved to Park Place. So I've met other friends just through random things at UNC. One of my close friends was a roommate with me this past summer in Chicago. Charles, I've gotten to know a good bit this year, over the summer. And then through the study center, through random connections around campus. I think some of the kind of practices around that were the people that I wouldn't normally see, finding a way to intentionally see them. And then it felt like there was probably a core group, definitely like my house guys that I just got to see a good bit. And so that's taken various forms. Sometimes meet up with Madison and a friend. Sometimes, like this year, we restarted a house Bible study with Tristan, who's new on staff here, and that's been awesome. He's been a gift to our house. We've gotten a lot closer because of that. Waking up every Monday morning at 7:30, hopefully. Some people are late, but that's been super cool. And yeah, I mean, sometimes, you go through phases where you have one-on-one breakfasts or one-on-one hangouts with different people, different groups. But I think it's been cool to see how that stuff comes and goes naturally, which is cool, and kind of things come and go from your calendar, which is fun. So.
I want to talk about church and mentorship. Don't have to get into like all the theology of it, but like, how did you like decide on a church? And like, did you take a while to shop, or did you find one immediately? And then second is mentors, and you can segue into it. They can be two different answers. Mentors can be academic, professional, spiritual, multiple.
Yeah.
Just that side of community.
Okay, cool. Church, I go to Christ Central in Durham, and when I came for my orientation weekend, my home pastor in Nashville, Tennessee, knows the head pastor Daniel Mason at Christ Central, and so we had heard about it and went my orientation weekend when I was here. And then came back, went there again with my parents when they dropped me off for school. And then, went to a couple different churches. And it was honestly easiest to get a ride to Christ Central at the start when I didn't have a car. There's a big crew of guys going. And then I really grew to love kind of the service and how they really approach just like experiencing God's love. And I love their music and choir, and their kind of emphasis on it being everyone's church. They kind of make an intentional point to invite any and everyone in there. And so I think I'm a little sad that it was far away, and like harder to like immediately get plugged into. And I think one of the things about college is you have to decide if that's what you want to be one of your main groups. And I think I wish I'd gotten to know some of the church members a little bit more, but I've gotten to know a good bit just by going on Sundays, and I served in kids ministry for a little bit too. But yeah, Christ Central is fun. And then my main mentor here has been Madison Perry, who runs the study center. I met Madison at Way Camp, like everyone, or most people did. And I remember he gave a series of talks our year. And during one of the last ones, he was kind of talking about, what kind of life do you want to live here in college? And you have the chance to be pretty intentional about that. And I remember him saying, if anyone ever needed anything, they could reach out to him. And I remember like a week and a half in, all my friends at home were KAs at Ole Miss. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go try the fraternity thing, do the rush, and all of that. And I remember walking home one night and being like, I don't want those people to be my people. I think that they could have been, and I could have for sure followed the Lord and done a lot of things that I wanted to do in college. But for some reason I was like, I don't want to do that. And so I don't really all that know what else to do. And just at that moment, Madison saying, you can call me whenever, popped into my head. So I texted him and then met up with him the next day or a couple days after that, and we've been meeting every week since. So that's been super influential on my life. And just, I still remember when I was in my dorm, I lived right across the street at Cobb. Just felt like a fairly, I don't know, I didn't feel connected to my friends there in the dorm. It felt, the mornings and evenings just felt kind of, I don't know, like I was just doing the basic stuff to just get to bed and stuff. And he challenged me to grow in my prayer life a lot my freshman year, which I ended up sitting in the amphitheater over there a lot in the morning. And I still use his like kind of how he taught me to pray to this day and think about that. So he's been super impactful for a lot of reasons. Has challenged me. So my sophomore fall, I got a random email that said, hey, you've been nominated for the sophomore intake process by Madison Perry. And like, I don't know, I was not, I guess I was near the top of my class in high school, but not the top one or two that they nominate for Moorhead. And so I kind of knew about it. My mom went to UNC, dad went to Davidson, grandparents at the time both were in North Carolina. So I knew North Carolina, knew kind of like, okay, I think that's their like full ride thing, cool. So I texted him and I was like, this is a weird joke. I don't really know. I don't know what you're doing here. But like, what is this? He was like, no, it seems legit. They sent us an email asking us to nominate any students that we think would be deserving, which I thought was kind of crazy. I was like, me? So he helped me through the application process and has pushed me to take advantage of UNC and explore a lot of different things here at UNC. He was the faculty sponsor for a club I started here called HFI, Human Flourishing Initiative, which has taken a lot of different forms over the past few years. But when it started, Madison encouraged me to take a class with Larry Goldberg, who is kind of a legendary professor here at UNC. He doesn't really like syllabuses, or syllabi, and he really enjoys reading books, reading the classics, so Shakespeare, Machiavelli, Aristotle, and all of our classes consisted of us reading a block of text beforehand and coming in with thoughts. And if any thought was valid, so long as you could trace it back to somewhere in the book. And that's how his class went. And we did that for about 2 hours, 2 days a week, Monday, Wednesday. And I loved it. I was like, this is awesome. I haven't found this in any other class. And so then a friend and I, Ben Yates, were in that class, and we wanted to create more opportunities like that. And so that was where the impetus for HFI came from, to create more spaces like that. So that's what initially was. It was more a discussion group. We paired a more ancient text, so like Locke on what government should be, with a more modern kind of take on it, and then dove into discussion. And so that was cool, and we did that for maybe a year, semester and a half, had some guest speakers come, which was great. It felt like we were providing that space. And then we spent some time thinking, and we're like, what is the state of flourishing at UNC? How do you even decide on that? And we kind of landed on the Human Flourishing Initiative because we felt like this discussion-based, spaces were not readily available at UNC as a whole, and felt like that was a big aspect of like a flourishing life, is to be able to have real discussions and disagree on things wildly, but have something that's pulling you back to a common source. And so, yeah, that question brought us to ask the director of testing something here at UNC, and to ask what types of tests they did for students and surveys. And we figured out pretty much everything was detriment oriented. So students were doing bad and why. There was nothing that really surveyed students are doing well and here's why, or how well do students think that university is doing what they say they should be doing, and stuff like that. So we got connected again through Madison to someone at the Harvard Flourishing Program, and they did the Global Flourishing Index, which is I'm forgetting the numbers, but maybe it was multiple millions. I think it's maybe 70 million people they interviewed. I could be really wrong on that number, but it was a lot of people from all sorts of countries, all sorts of backgrounds, to get a score that they could score the world on. So how's this community doing compared to the whole world? And they were launching something for universities, and we just happened to catch them at the right time. So we were able to launch that here at UNC with the administration, which we were the first student introduced and led survey to be put out at UNC, which was pretty cool. That was fun. Did a lot of surveys, or got a lot of results, and then I think we got 2,800 survey responses, something like that, and then interviewed 75 people probably to get kind of some stories to fill in along the way of here's some sample of what's going on, and hopefully that went to the university and was helpful. So that's some flavor, and then I think Madison encouraged us to do that, but also has just encouraged me to expand my horizon on what a lot of things at UNC could look like, and it's definitely been a positive impact on the summer after my freshman year. I was going to be a camp counselor, wanted to apply to the business school, and was like, do I need to not be a camp counselor because I need a business thing? And he was like, no, you should talk with Parker. He did kind of a survey through a faculty member at Keenan Flagler on something to do with the business at Alpine Camp, which is where we both worked. And he was doing it on how they train the counselors, I think. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. So then that's how I got connected with the Family Enterprise Center, which I have been a part of since coming here at Keenan Flagler, and studied intergenerational dynamics. They had just handed down the camp from one generation to the next, and so I got to do that. So I think those are just some examples that he's really pushed me to experience UNC more than just idling and kind of getting by, and spiritually has just pushed me in the same way of challenging some of the things. I guess I just came into college thinking I believed, and really got to spend some time exploring what that actually meant. And so he was super helpful to bring some structure to random questions that I had. So
That was so good. Wow, those are some really cool opportunities. How do I even ask a follow-up to that? I don't know. I want to talk a little bit more about Moorhead and just like your experience. Anything that you think would be helpful to share. Just like what was the experience of coming in as a sophomore to that community like? And then some of the cool opportunities you've gotten to have for that.
Yeah.
Traveling and service and that kind of mix and stuff.
Yeah. Definitely felt weird because they'd never done it before. And we kind of went in there like, yeah, we're still figuring out what this is too. So I think having been at Carolina and seen all that it had to offer without being on Moorhead, I think the theory was there are leaders here on campus that are doing cool things that we can like pour gasoline on the fire and just accelerate their growth. Which again, I'm still like amazed that they wanted to pick on me or pick me, but that was their theory. And so how do they grow leaders? And I think part of the kind of pitch when they were, talking to alumni, talking to faculty was, we have students here that we believe can be leaders. What if we invigorate a little bit of people that are doing that on campus to inspire them a little bit too, and kind of, broaden the pool of not just high school seniors that get to know each other and then come to campus and know each other through shared experiences and all that stuff, but get to kind of expand what they think college can be like from students that are already doing some stuff. And yeah, so I think for me, it was super helpful, and I'll shout out David Greer, who's was their director of development and just left to take another job. I remember going to him and being like, I want to be a business leader, and I want to be a business leader because of the impact that business leaders have on people. You're given a sphere of influence on people when you are someone's boss, which I think is such a crazy thing. And my goal is to be a good boss. And so I don't know where that will be. And I remember in high school, I got to shadow a guy that he owns a lumberyard in Nashville. And I remember being disappointed because it was sophomore year, and they assigned different business leaders to different students that we got to go shadow. And I was like, I'm going to see a lumberyard, really? And he texted me a couple days before. It was like, yo, show up at 4:30. You're going on deliveries in the morning. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I worked my way all the way through until like 1 p.m. in the afternoon, which was the first time I saw him. And kind of all along the way, I just heard story after story about how impactful of a leader he had been and how he really cared for his people, from flying someone out to rehab, drug rehab, and like Phoenix, to bailing someone out of jail that had been just like had a mix up on his property taxes and didn't know he was registered to a property and got thrown in jail because he hadn't, seen all of the warnings to pay, and then had him, and that was on Thanksgiving, and so had him at Thanksgiving dinner with his family. I remember going through that whole day and I went with the yard manager, I went with the guy in charge of the shop, all the way up to the guy in charge of finances, then to him, and him being like, we treat our employees like they're our family and our number one customers. And I remember being like, I don't know if I'll be in lumber, I don't know where I'll be, but if I'm involved in business, that's why. And I really want to be a good leader. And I think I've been able to test that a little bit through Moorhead, which has been fun. They set up opportunities for you to do that. So after sophomore, after my sophomore year, they did a program called Civic Collaboration, which right now the current form is there's teams of 4 to 5 Moorhead Canes that go to different projects around the country, and now some in Canada, some in Mexico. And the theory is there's a host organization that has a problem that they want students to look at and kind of interview different stakeholders and come up with some solution, but also figure out how to work in a group. That's kind of the thing. It's like how do you figure out what it looks like to work in a group of people that all are bought in a way that school projects can just kind of be like one person takes the lead. And so, yes, is group experience, but isn't necessarily like true teamwork at all times. And so mine felt kind of like a consulting project because we were doing that. We were working for Corewell Health up in Michigan, and loved it. Learned a lot about how to work with people and people with strong opinions, which was hard. I'd never done that before, but learned a lot and got to talk to my grandpa a lot because he has done a lot of work with people in all sorts of situations and been a leader in different organizations, so that was awesome. But I remember leaving and being like, I want to implement this like program that I just came up with, this solution to their problem of how to increase or how to use virtual technology to increase health literacy and health, utilization in marginalized communities. And so we came with this whole idea, and I was like, this is awesome. And I was like, I don't want to leave. I want to be a part of the implementation. And so I think that was helpful because okay, I want to be a part of implementing change. And then through Moorhead, through encouragement from other people, through all sorts of things, I decided to study abroad in South Africa my junior fall, and worked with a nonprofit that helps train locals in entrepreneurship skills, specifically those in townships. So the community set up by the apartheid in places that they were kind of pushed out and a lot farther from the town center. This organization, their tagline's like making hope contagious. So there's more to life than just getting by and providing just enough to get food on the table for your family. So that was cool, but it was a nonprofit, and I felt the urge to want to do more. And a brief aside on that, when we were there, we lost one of our classmates that was on the program with us. And I think that's one of the times that I really felt the impact of my faith on my life the most. There's all sorts of emotions. It was just kind of a crazy freak accident and super sad. She was awesome. Brooke was awesome. And people dealt with it differently, but I remember calling my dad and being like, I don't know why I'm so calm. I'm not, everyone else is worked up, and rightfully so, and kind of freaked out about it, but I was like, I don't know why I'm so calm. It's almost like I'm not having to wrestle with some of the things they are. And so I think through reflection and kind of through talking with people, I wasn't having to wrestle with my own morality. I believe that, as a believing Christian, that I was going to heaven. And so I wasn't if that happened to me, I wasn't scared about what would happen, and wasn't oh, this was a life cut short, or a life that I wasn't going to be able to live. It's if our eternity's in heaven, I'm here until the Lord calls me home. And so I remember that being a moment where I was like, oh wow, this is one of the first moments where I've realized why faith makes a big difference in how I approach life. So yeah, and then that led me to, back on the job stuff, that led me to work for an industrial crane services business in Chicago last summer. not the cranes that build buildings, but the cranes that move materials in like manufacturing plants. I got that question a lot. If you ask Winston, I'm a certified crane operator. That's what he believes. But yeah, that was super cool and got to learn a lot. Sat next to the CFO and COO, and I don't think I would have been in that spot to do what I did without the encouragement of Madison, but also Wilberforce, which helped me kind of. Wilberforce Leadership Program here. It's taken different forms over the years with different leaders. Now with Will Spokes, Madison led it for a while, and yeah, I kind of pushed my boundary on what being a leader in the business world could look like. I got that a little bit in high school with the lumberyard, but got to just hear a bunch of different stories about how people were Christians in the workplace, and even at the business school. I don't just have to be a consultant or investment banker. There's all sorts of different things that you could do. I think all of that encouragement and kind of reading on what is vocation, what is work, why do we do work, how do you do it from a Christian perspective, all of those kind of stacked up to being like content with taking nobody's like, yeah, I'm going to take an industrial crane services internship. But I learned so much from that, and I wouldn't have trained that for any other internship. And I think a lot of those things pushed my boundaries on what I could conceive that my life would look like. So.
Again, I'm like, I don't even know where to go because that was so good. What are the other things I wanted to ask you?
Oh, I have something else to say about Moorhead, if you want me to.
And Iceland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go for it. I don't even know where to just go.
So Will Spokes asked me to talk to Wilberforce a couple times this semester, and as I reflected for those talks, the big word that stuck out to me was curiosity, and being curious in kind of all the facets of your life. And I think that has been kind of a good theme word of how my college experience has gone, from taking Italian as my language that I took, and simply because I was like, I've been to Italy, I like Italian. I don't want to do the typical Spanish thing. That was just a random curiosity that I did. And then I think a lot of the random side quests that I've gone down are from curiosities. Right now I'm taking pottery classes outside of Chapel Hill at the Chapel Hill Community Clay Studio, and then at some random lady's back studio 20 minutes away in the woods. It's awesome. I ended up taking a class in Nashville 2 years ago and loved it, and I was like, I want to keep doing it. I don't know why. I guess this might be my creative outlet. I tried to play guitar and I'm not that good, so had to pivot to something else. So that's just some random thing that I was like, I wonder if I could do it, and I figured out a way to do it. And yeah, similar with Moorhead has this thing called the Lovelace Fund, where they like to sponsor you to basically chase some curiosities. And so Charles and I went to Iceland to study basically sustainable tourism and how that looks with their geothermal energy. They have a little bit with aquaculture, and then just their main attraction is Iceland, is kind of their volcano at one point, their glaciers, their all sorts of random things, and just beautiful. It looks like a different country. And so we got to go study that. And then more recently I got back from Brazil studying favela economics, which favelas are their impoverished neighborhoods, low income neighborhoods. And so that was super cool, and we went to this universal or international church that was speaking English, and got connected with this guy that was a successful lawyer in New York, then sold everything and moved to Rio to move to one of the favelas and start a community center. And so I spent 7 hours on my last day there with them, and just got to sit and see, and I was like, what is my life? I was sitting at this random structure in the middle of downtown Rio, but this is on a hill where no one else builds, so it's like the low income neighborhood for all the people that like build all the floats for Carnival is like who lives there. And was just asking questions about, life, God, how he felt called to be there. And he met a local who helped him set up the organization, and then they were just sharing stories about how people have come to Christ and in beautiful ways, and how there wasn't, like, the word community didn't mean anything there when they moved in 7 years ago. It was kind of every man for themselves, and they like created a community. So those are some of the random curiosities I've been able to go down.
That's awesome. We've been talking for a while, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But do you have any thoughts?
Favorite memory from D's and Park Place?
Favorite memory from D's and Park Place? Oh, goodness. Gosh. The D's was awesome, and Park Place. I remember, this is close to one of my favorite memories. Favorites are a hard word when there's so many good ones. But we, at D's and Park Place, and have fallen inconsistent in our senioritis, but we did house time Sunday nights, and someone would plan an activity and someone would share, we call it SP, Spark Plug. So something that's been on our hearts that week, that the Lord's kind of put there, and share it with everybody. And I'm pretty sure this was Jackson's week on activity. He went and got dry ice, and we it started very civil, and we were on best behavior. We were doing, like, if you like put water on it, it makes steam, like makes this big bubble that you're sitting there. And I remember there's this featured photo that we have of us all sitting around and like waiting for it to pop, and we're all just like sitting around it pops up, and our like Walker Huff's like, oh, is it gonna happen? And I remember looking back on that, and it was just like so much joy, and we were just all there together. And then, of course, someone decided to make a dry ice bomb with a water bottle in the street. That actually nothing bad happened. It was just loud. But I look back on those house time moments, especially at the D's, and just how awesome those were, and just getting to spend intentional time together. And then Park Place. Let's see. Yeah, we've done dry ice a couple times. It was a crowd favorite. I really loved, we had this past Duke away game, we had everybody over into our front yard, projected the Duke game on a sheet attached to our house, and then Jackson won a smoker at NC State Young Life banquet somehow, and smoked a bunch of meat, and that was just, I remember being like, this is exactly what this house is for. So close to campus, really had the opportunity to kind of open the doors and have people over, and part of me wishes we did it more, but the moments that we did do it, I was like, this is beautiful, and this is so cool. That's a big moment, and then all the small moments, the little ping pong tournaments, and just intentional time when you grab someone after they've gotten out of the shower, before they're getting in bed, and you just have like a 15-minute, like really deep conversation. It's just crazy and super sweet, and part of me is ready not to live with 11 guys, have a clean kitchen, and not have mold in our shower that just somehow doesn't ever go away. But another part of me will always cherish it and remember how just awesome it is to live with 11 of your best friends. So.